brings me to my topic because we're talking about Tinder, we're talking about Instagram, all these things where I've been longing lately for more simplicity in my life. And I'm curious about how you guys, we can touch on this quickly, but especially for Nick and I remember the days without the internet. I remember them well. I remember I got the internet, I think, in 1994, 1995. Right. And I was alive for 10 years before that. Yeah. And like and having the internet in those days was like a 14.4 or a 28.8 modem, and you would dial up and it cost money and you're on your phone and you couldn't use it that much. The internet didn't become the internet until like the early 2000s. Yeah. And I long for those days of having to have conversations with people. And the reason I'm thinking about this is because I was at a restaurant the other night, and I walked past this table of 4 girls that are clearly friends, and they're all like this. And if you guys aren't watching the video, they're I'm having my phone in front of my face, and they're all just like this. And I'm like, you know what? That's bullshit. And then literally like 1 second later, I'm like, I do that.
Yeah,
and
we all do that. All of us do that.
And I'm like, to the point where we were in Boston, I'm like, everyone put your phones in the middle of the table.
Yeah, no, it's
like it's hard, and I wonder how you guys feel about that. Like I think the internet's an essential thing. It's the greatest tool that's ever been invented. It's the World Wide Web and the exchange of knowledge is essential. I mean, we've talked about before, Nick, especially like you and I remember if you had a question, you couldn't actually answer it. There was a time where like someone was like, "Who was in that movie?" And you're like, I don't fucking know.
You're like, you don't know.
And like,
unless
you would never
had the VHS tape there. You didn't know anyone that was in the movie.
And like that was, but there's something quaint about it. We talked about that episode of Seinfeld where they insist that Dustin Hoffman was in Star Wars. Do you remember that
yes.
episode where like a guy insists Dustin Hoffman was in Star Wars, and it was just his way to like he would make a bet with pretty girls that like if Dustin Hoffman wasn't in Star Wars, I'll bring you to dinner or whatever. Like that was the whole episode. And but I was like, that would have been so easy for a woman today to look up. Like that episode of Seinfeld wouldn't even work.
No, none of it would work.
And so I'm curious about your guys' thoughts about simplicity. Like, do you crave more of it? Do you wish that there were times sometimes where you didn't have a smartphone, where like you had to do simpler things, that you had to have more personal connections with people? It's not to say you don't have them now, but you definitely don't have them the way people 100 years ago had them.
See, I feel like the quote unquote right answer is to say, yeah, I want more simple times and all that stuff. But fuck that. No, not at all. Like, I love this. I love smartphones. I love the internet. I love the interactions I have. I still use my phone as a phone. A lot of my friends hate that. But like, I like talking. If you guys didn't know.
Yeah, so
you're funny that you like to do that. You're one of the only people I've ever met that likes to talk on the phone.
But I do.
Which is funny because for a person that likes to talk on the phone, you never answer your damn phone.
That's
or any text messages ever.
What are you talking about?
I'll be like, Tim, what do you got to do tonight? 3 days later. Oh, what's up, dude? I'm gonna call you RoboCop from now on. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean?
I did text him that last night. You did not ask me that before. Anyways, I think this is great. I think this is simpler in a lot of ways. Like, yeah, you have to think a lot more about stuff at times, but all your answers are right there. It's just like there's so much that you don't need to think about anymore because it's just there. Like, I need to think about, is my phone charged? Like, you start planning out your day based on like charging things, and that's weird. But when you get good at it, you don't think about it anymore. It just happens.
I'm in the middle. I feel like without my phone, I wouldn't be able to connect to other people who like support me on a daily basis, and I've grown to be good friends with, But at the same time, my last relationship, it was an issue because I was on my phone all the time, and it got to the point where she was like, "Hey, can we have this time where you just don't touch your phone?" And then really made me realize, I was like,
so many times.
I was like, oh shit, I'm on my phone too much. Like,
oh no, like my wife and I on Saturdays and Sundays when we're together, she's like, we have this sort of, not even an unspoken rule. We literally call each other out on it where we're like, put the phone away. Sometimes we leave them at home. Like, if I know there's nothing happening, if we're not working on a project, or if there's nothing that's outstanding specifically.
So you never leave your phone at home?
I feel so naked with it, but the other day I left it at home, and she's like, do you need to go back and get it? And I'm like, I want to. She's like, no, do you need to? Is there something specifically that you need that phone for? Because we're only going 3 blocks away from our house. So there's not going to be a tidal wave that takes us fucking out to sea where you're going to wish you had your phone, right? Like, if anything happens, you can literally get back home in 5 seconds and get your phone. I was like, I guess I don't need it. And then it's so funny because the rest of the day, when I you'd go in there to check it and make it the first couple times, and then eventually your brain would just be like, you don't have a phone, don't worry about it.
But every time you do that, you freak the fuck out.
Oh, you freak out.
Holy shit, where's my phone? That's the worst feeling in the world.
Yeah, it is.
But so now I sort of look for moments in my life, things that I can do that where they don't even let you have a phone. Or like I started doing yoga with my wife. It's sort of like yoga a thing that we can do together, which is not as deadly as you would think it is, having played Street Fighter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, when do we get to learn how to fucking throw fireballs? No, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
It's the same
it's
length.
good.
It's funny, by the way. Was I talking to you guys about that? Where like yoga is the complete antithesis of Taoism, where like he turned it into a fighting style, and you're like, that is not what yoga is about. It's the complete opposite of that, which I think is hilarious. They did that. But then and as you guys know, Kevin and I are both part of the climbing community.
You are. It's a fact.
And when you're 15 feet up in the air, okay.
Tied
60 feet up
and you're
in the
tied
air,
up, so there's no danger of you hurting yourself.
and you're dangling by a string, a fucking string that probably can't even.
That's made of Kevlar.
It's a string that can't even support the weight, and it's springy, and it's scary springy, right? Like when you fall, you're gonna feel that fall. You don't think about your phone, you don't think about Twitter, you don't think about Facebook invites or whether or not you got the invite, which is another thing that pisses me off. Well, I'll get to in a second. You just have to focus on the climb. And that's it, and being free.
Where the fuck did this come from?
Yeah, what are you saying?
I don't know. I haven't made it
Too
mention to our climbing community. But this is the thing that pisses me off is like you guys grew up with it, right? You guys grew up with this. Like, there's some staggering statistic that says that we've evolved more from a technological standpoint in the last like 20 years than we have in the last and like all the years before that.
Yeah.
In all the years.
Like,
No,
literally,
it's
it's
well, in terms of computing processing power, I think even in the last 10 years more than like human history.
than anything. Like if you look, I think the statistic I'm trying to quote is from the turn of the 20th century, from the Industrial Revolution on, that 100-year, 120, 15-year span that we've had, we've evolved more as a human race than we have all the years before that. It's
In terms of our technology,
exponentially faster in terms of technology. So people being born now are way more accustomed to it than even you, or were born 10 years ago, way more accustomed to it than you guys are because they grew up with everything that you have. Whereas Colin's right. My brain doesn't instantly think, how am I going to utilize all these tools at my disposal? My brain goes, there's too much of this shit. I don't want any of it, right? And the thing that pisses me off, like I can't tell you how much it pisses me off, is when someone will send me a text like, hey, are you going tonight? And I'll be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Oh, you didn't get that Facebook invite? There's a big group Facebook invite for so-and-so's like, so-and-so got married. And I'm like, what the shit? No one texted me this? No one called to see, like, if you're my best friend or one of my best friends and you put out an invite and I didn't get back to you, you're not going to call me on that shit? Like, maybe I didn't see it? Oh, well, Nick's just an asshole. He never comes to fucking parties anymore.
Yeah,
I'm like, I don't see it. I don't see this shit.
Yeah, Facebook. Thankfully, I think we're getting away from that a little bit.
Well,
like,
we are.
Like
Facebook's
the,
a poor example.
I was reading a piece in the Wall Street Journal, though, not too long ago, where they were saying that the technological culture and the way we share our information and kind of share gatherings has created havoc with RSVPing, where, like, some woman was using an anecdote of her wedding where like 40 people that showed up to the wedding that like did not RSVP but were invited.
Oh, that's
bullshit.
and
and that like they didn't know what to do and stuff like that, and it was based on this like
go the fuck home. I'd be like, sorry guys, you didn't RSVP. Weddings you have to be really careful with because as you guys will know one day is that you have to pay per person. So every person that shows up, it costs you depending on where you're getting married.
Which is why you pay the groom and the bride to kind of even it out.
What? Which is why you pay the group. What do you mean?
Well, that's why you give a wedding present. Yeah, like
exactly.
and there's like a whole simple algorithm for how many people you're bringing to the wedding and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but yeah, when people come and if 40 people show up, that's potentially $4,000 that you have unaccounted for. You can't feed them. You don't have no place for them to sit. This is not like a party that you're having where you're like, fuck it, just move the couch. Like we're ready to rock and roll. Like you have a lot of things planned. So it's very true. And I'm the worst at it. People invite me all the time, and I'm like, oh, was I supposed to RSVP for that thing? I'm just not gonna go.
The reason I was thinking about this too was I finished a book by Andy Weir. I think it was the author's name called The Martian, which I've been recommending to people for a while. And it's about, I'm not going to spoil too much of it, but it's a book about it takes place like 50 years in the future. It's about a NASA mission to Mars and how one of the guys gets left behind. And he's by himself.
And he's just taking a lot of selfies.
Did he say he's taking a lot of selfies?
All he can do.
And all he has over there, like they don't even have the internet there because it's not practical to have like Wi-Fi signals go to the internet because like you have to have a direct line of sight with the Earth and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. He has like a rover where he can text with people, but like other than that, like nothing's really happening for him. And it brought in my mind, it's his like personal journal is the book basically, like what he's doing and how he's occupying his time. And it's like, holy shit.
That would be
like because you're not only removing yourself from like all the technology you have, but you're removing yourself from any personal interaction at all. He's by himself with nothing.
Well, just texting, right?
He can text from the. It's a little bit of a. It's not really too much of a.
He can imagine that, like, what's up? What you up to?
Yeah, I would text you every day. You specifically every day. Yo, you want to come over?
but it takes like 3.5 minutes for like the text to reach Earth, and then like they have to read it, then like go back. Anyway, it just brought it to my mind because I'm not.
You get picture text though?
No, it's only text. Like there's no bandwidth.
No nudes. Because can you imagine if there was like the 3-minute wait in between texts, but pictures are allowed? It's just like, Can I see your boob?
Oh, I would immediately. I'd be like,
Wait,
look,
3
I'm
minutes.
you
And
know
you
how
gotta
much I
know.
would milk that?
Come
Like,
on, please.
I am stuck on Mars. I need to see your boob. Just one of them. Just one boob.
Just one boob.
Okay.
But see, that's the problem. Yeah, then you get one boob, and you never stop
You
at
gotta
one
see the other
boob.
one. You gotta see how much of the puzzle you can put together.
Yeah.
But I wonder if we are injuring ourselves by being this connected, and it's part of it's essential, right? Like, I love technology, and like the things that we're able to do now, like I've said before, like we went to the moon in 1969 with the processing power of a TI-83 calculator. It's unbelievable when you think about 69 but what we have this technology where, there's the whole adage that like processing power multiplies by 2 every 18 months, which has been true since the 60s. It's unbelievable. It's fucking completely unbelievable. But what does this mean for us as a race? And this is what even Ray Kurzweil and those guys, the futurists, talk about when they talk about the singularity and stuff, like where we're really only a few decades away from actually merging with technology. And
we have technology
like implanted in us, like where people are working on things like downloading your memories. Like that's a real thing that people are trying to do.
Yeah.
Like where like you.
Well, they already have nanobots, right?
Nanomachines?
Yeah, there are nanomachines. I don't know how practical. We looked on
they're saying that they can actually inject. Like I heard some story the other day where they were talking about they're actually like doing clinical trials on injecting people with like a type of nanotechnology that will go in and like
fix all the problems of the last 3 games
discs in your back or things like that. And also they have are you guys familiar with like when you slip a disc? Before, if you fucked up your spine and you slipped the disc, they would go in, they would take it out, and they would fuse your spine together. Now they have like these like they're not robotics per se, but apparently they have like mechanical things you can put in between the discs that will articulate, that are getting close to like, and how far is it away from just putting a chip in there that tells you exactly like what the stress is going to be on the body and that joint and like how different to stand and stuff like that. It's all sorts of crazy shit that's happening.
I don't understand what sounds so bad about this.
That's what I was going to say is this singularity is going to happen, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but we are going to lose our humanity forever. And like that's
humans kind of suck though.
But humanity is, and I've said this before, like to me it's like there's a natural evolutionary process, right, of getting smarter and getting stronger and getting better. The survival of the fittest. It's a real thing, right? It's just a natural thing. Humanity is the only example we know of that has outsmarted evolution. We don't need it anymore, and now we make our machines, now we make our computers do all these kinds of things. There's just something lost in the simplicity of, and I'm not saying I want to go back to these times where, but I love Downton Abbey, for instance, and it's like, not that these people in Downton Abbey are living a simple life, because they're not. They live in a huge manor and stuff like that. But there's like something about it where it's like there's something simple about sitting in a firelit room reading a book, or like having a simple meal or a cup of tea.
It sounds miserable.
And
Colin.
no one can talk to each other without writing a letter or getting on the fucking telephone or sending a telegram.
What about that? Sounds good.
Letter? Oh my god.
See, I think for every
I think it's romantic.
I think for everything that technology affords us, it also there's a hindrance to it as well. But I think I'd rather take it than not. And I think because I think a lot of the world problems can and will be solved by having the free exchange of ideas and information out there, which is why I don't really know what I guess you would say the biggest technological achievement of humankind is, but I would venture to say that the internet is up there,
Etch a sketch,
if not the number one thing that we've produced to date that has affected the human, our lives the most. And so, especially when you start looking at countries like North Korea or China that they restrict the amount of information that people have access to. That's just, it's criminal. And the reason they do that is because they know the second that information is unrestricted, it's going to fundamentally change the way those people believe and think about everything. So I don't know, but unfortunately you can't stop it, right? There's no going back to those simpler times. I too wish that I always say, I love watching movies on TV, and the reason I like watching a movie on TV is like catching a lion in the wild, right? Where you're like, oh, that's on. Because there is that spontaneity of, I didn't have to choose that. The stars aligned, and tonight, for some reason, when I was ready to watch Predator was on.
So it's right? It's like catching a lion in the wild.
You know what I mean? Where it's like,
it's a great way of putting it.
You go to the zoo, and you're like, all right, fuck, okay, let's go to the lion cage.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a lion. And 9 out of 10 times, motherfuckers just sitting down like, dude, it sucks.
And then it's feeding time and everyone gets super excited, but then that's never as exciting
shit.
as it should be.
And I always have to put plexiglass up because some dipshit threw a Mountain Dew at it.
I will
hop the fence and kills him.
I will end with this topic and with this note is that someone tweeted me something really interesting where he was like, does it scare you that all of the smartest technologists and futurists in the world are currently all talking about how machines are going to kill us? And I was like, that's interesting because it's fucking true. Like all, like whether it's the, Bill Gates was the most recent one to talk about it. He's like, when people are like, what is the, and I'm just reducing the conversation, but they're like, what is the biggest problem right now? And he's like, we are making machines that are going to be sentient. We better be fucking very scared.
Yeah.
So like, and we see, it's so funny to look at something like Terminator or Battlestar and be like, that might be the future, like
that's the crazy thing though. Like when you start to, I know we're getting long, and we got to do the thing, but, that's a crazy thing when you start looking at sci-fi too. And a lot of people talk about Jules Verne like that, where they're like, did he think of the idea first that made people read that book and go, shit, we should try to make this happen? Or like, at what point do you draw the line? So like, did people watch Terminator and go, oh, that's an interesting idea, artificial intelligence, maybe we should put more of our time and effort into that thing, right? Where you're just like, how does this shit come about? And
or Battlestar,
is it inevitable?
Yeah, or Battlestar, where it's like, oh, we should make robots that do all the work for us. That
Right.
sounds like a great idea. And then they'll turn on us and kill us.
Yeah.
Okay.